What's up, DJs? I apologize. It has been a minute. If you are not, please follow me on X. It is at Gambling Gazette or AG Sports 21, whichever one you want to look up. I am putting most of my stuff out there on X. It's actually been relatively successful, so I have a lot of info out there, putting out all these charts and data and stats and everything else we talk about, everything else that you like as far as someone who just likes to get into the numbers. So just be aware it's out there. Stuff has gone on with my schedule here. It makes it kind of hard to record all this. And if you haven't noticed, it's kind of why some of the audio sucks. So I'm waiting on a microphone. That's another part of it. But I still want to get you guys some videos, some data out there. So if you're not already following me on Twitter or X, please do so. I'll leave the link in the comments below. That's going to be where you're going to find most of my stuff, most of my info and takes and data and spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it, though, for the picks for this week. I am doing a lot of props. Those are all on X. Again, last week the props went 10-8, I believe. It was kind of a ho-hum kind of week, but that did work out pretty well. Did also win the DraftKings Week 1 contest, so netted a cool almost $1,000 in the one contest there. So that was always fun. But before we even talk about the props, let's talk about some totals, because that's what's in front of you here. So if you're looking at the screen, what I am listing, what I am registering every week here as part of my data spreadsheet now is going to be teams that allow their opponents to go over their expected win totals, right? So if you see yeses, that means that their opponents have gone over their win total for that particular week. No means obviously they did not go over their win total or their points total for that week. So, for example, if you're looking at the Bears, it says yes. That's because both weeks the opponents who played the Bears went over their point total. If you're looking at the Cowboys, it says no, yes. The no, important to note, is, of course, in that Eagles game for Week 1 to kick off the season, where we had that crazy rainstorm that kind of stopped everything. So this week, if you're not already on the boat, you may be a little late, but I think you're probably still fine. I would still go ahead and take the over for that Cowboys-Bears game. Specifically, though, I'm looking at the Cowboys team total over. So this is one thing that I have learned, and I just want to share with everybody, is that the over-unders, I love playing totals. It is probably one of the best things you can do from a stats perspective and really being able to kind of drill down some things, because stuff happens, right? There's fumbles, there's interceptions, there's all sorts of random, weird, little intricate shit throughout a game that can cause a spread to get kind of messed up. All right, so like, for example, last night, if you were on the Bills minus 12, you kind of got screwed because they didn't, they didn't cover, obviously, but it's also because the Bills kind of took their foot off the gas. It was more so like, hey, we're just trying to kind of close this game out towards the end when they kicked the field goal, instead of needing to go for a touchdown or having like a pick six or something like that. Obviously, if you were on the Bears side, you were great. But even if you did like a teaser, you're kind of sweating it out there towards the end before Tua threw that last interception. So the spreads can kind of be affected by some weird stuff. The totals, it's a little bit different, because usually if you have a good read on a game, you can kind of say, okay, this is going to be a slower paced game, preferably a lower scoring game, or the opposite of that. And what I've come to realize is, obviously, we're trying to take out variables from our bets. And so the best way to take out the variable is to take out one of the teams. So like in this case where we're looking at the Bears-Cowboys, the over is what everybody's on, right? So the last time I checked, it was like at 50.5, maybe 51. 51 is a key number, so that's important to note. So if it's over 51 at whatever book you're looking at, preferably you should be looking at Bookmaker. You may kind of want to second guess yourself, but more importantly than that is that if you're betting the 51 or the over 51, you are expecting both sides to hit their over. Is really what it comes down to, because the Cowboys over-under, depending on where you're at, is either 24.5 or 25.5. The Bears over-under is either 23.5 or 22.5, again, depending on where you're at. So if you're expecting this game to go over 50 points, you are expecting both sides to go over. Either that or one side to really go over and the other to kind of just keep pace. So how do we kind of eliminate one of those variables? Well, we just take one team And in this case, that's going to be the Cowboys. So the Cowboys, as of right now, are the favorite. They're 1-point favorites. The Bears are missing Jalen Johnson still, their best corner. So Ceedee Lamb should have a pretty good week. So if you want to play props, which, again, I am on, I did get Ceedee Lamb over 80.5 receiving yards earlier in the week. Depending on where you're looking at for that, it's probably 81 to 82.5 yards right now. So that's number one. But number two, taking just the Cowboys side is going to give you a few things. So number one, it's a team we expect to win. Number two, it's a team whose defense is also not great, so they're going to most likely continue needing to score. And then number three, we're going to take advantage of the fact that the Bears are missing their top corner, so that kind of goes with our props. So we should have a lot of these opportunities here to get downfield, to get scoring positions in, and we don't need to worry about the Bears messing it up. If you haven't already heard, the Bears are really great at scripting their first drive, and then after that, it's kind of hit or miss. So what would suck is if you take the overall over and you end up having the Bears, only score 20 points and it ends up being 30-20. Yeah, you almost got to 51, but you end up getting screwed because the Bears didn't hold up their end of the bargain, whether that's because, somebody got hurt or the Cowboys were just able to finally stop something, or maybe they settled for field goals or whatever. That would really suck because obviously it's a higher scoring game, but you still don't hit your over. So just take the one side, and that's all we need to worry about now is just the Cowboys taking advantage of a Bears defense who has allowed both of their opponents to go over, including a J.J. McCarthy-led team in the first game he ever really played. So Cowboys over their win total or their team total for this week is play number one. The Browns under their team total is play number two. Their team total, again, depending on where you're at, it's either 17.5 or 16.5. Look for the 17.5. It is going to be kind of juiced up depending on where you're at, but obviously 17 is a key number when it comes to these team totals. Give me that 17.5. They are playing against the Packers. Packers, in my opinion, have the best defense, if not, absolutely top three for sure. They are great at shutting down the run, which is exactly what the Browns like to do. The Browns like to kind of rest on their run and really push the run game. In this case, they're going to most likely get shut down, especially with Micah Parsons back there now. He's doing a great job of just shutting every run game down. They're most likely going to have to take to the air. And yeah, they got Jerry Jeudy, but the Packers are great at shutting down receivers as well, which really puts you in a pickle. The one spot that they are giving up some yards and some points to is the tight end position. And so if you haven't looked back, take a look at who they've played. Both of their games, the tight ends have had a pretty good showing. Last week, it was Zach Ertz, had a great game. This week, it is Harold Fannin. And as far as the props go, that's another spot I want you to look. Harold Fannin, his over-under is at 34.5 yards right now. He has gone over that in both games that he's played. In both games with Joe Flacco, he has gone over 34.5 yards. That is way too low. That is my number one pick for the week. Harold Fannin over 34.5 yards. And I've also laddered it up. So take it if you can get it. 34.5, 44.5, 55.5, and 65.5, because this guy may be set for a big game. This may be his coming out party. He's done great work. He is a better receiver than Njoku, I could tell you that. Maybe the rest of his tight end game isn't, but the receiving game is awesome. It has great hands, great catches, over the middle, across the side, everything you can think of. So the guy is going to do some work. Flacco loves him. He's a good, easy target. And in this case, he's probably going to be the most open target in this particular game. So look at Harold Fannin to go over his total. Look at the Browns to stay under their team total. So even though with Fannin going over and maybe having a great game, I don't think he's going to get in the end zone more than once if he does get in, just because of the way that this Packers defense is set up. And as well as the Packers, they themselves really don't like to just keep building up the leads. The way the Lions just beat the absolute dog shit out of the Bears last week, that's not the Packers game. Usually they get up like 20 points or so, and then they kind of just try to run it out. And in this case, they're probably going to run into a brick wall themselves. It's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game, so be in the expectation for that. But the Browns to stay under that 17.5 is a good look. Lastly, we also have the Panthers to stay under their team total at 21.5. Panthers just haven't set up for a bad matchup. The Falcons have had a really good defense in general, but in this particular situation where it's the first divisional matchup between these two for the year. Those games tend to stay under as it is. Now, I don't want to take the game under in this one because the Panthers defense has been very suspect, specifically to running backs. So Bijan may have a huge game in this one. His over-under is at 80 and a half yards. Take a look at that because I'm on that as well. The Falcons do not want to pass any more than they absolutely need to, and in this case, they really should not need to after the first half. Bijan should have a great day here. Penix under his pass attempts of 29.5 is another good way to look. Last week when they were winning, he had way less than 29.5. I want to say it was 22 or 23 off the top of my head. Probably looking at about the same outcome from Penix. I don't want to play with the yards on Penix only because if he hits one or two, deep passes, or if maybe Bijan rips off a pass for, takes a 2-yard pass into a 50-yard pass, that could go over on his yards. But the under pass attempts is where I'm looking at for Penix in this game, as well as over for Bijan. And then under for the Panthers total. The Panthers, if you've watched their games, they look close on paper, or at least this last one did. Really misleading. Nothing was ever in doubt. I know they tried to make the comeback against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals just took their foot off the gas way too early, in my opinion. And we all saw that coming if you were watching that game, probably by the beginning of the fourth quarter. We all kind of knew where this was going, but there was really no threat of ever having them lose the game outright. So the Panthers under their total of 21.5, going up against a good Falcons defense that has kept both of their opponents under their expected team totals. And in this case, Bryce Young has not really shown us a whole lot. Ted McMillan is okay. And again, it's a divisional matchup where we would expect a lower scoring game anyways. So those are the three as far as team totals. Those are some also some props that you can look at just to start off with. Take a look at this list here. Find the teams that have either gone over or stayed under, the teams that have kept their opponents over or under both weeks so far, and see what you can do with that. As far as maybe just a fantasy standpoint or even prop standpoint, this is the fantasy index. So this is the average points given up to positions by each team. So look through it. So for example, in this case, the Texans are keeping receivers to about 6.5 points per game. Obviously not great, so I wouldn't want to put my receiver against the Texans, right? Conversely, the Dolphins are giving up about 30 points to each quarterback that they play in fantasy. So, in this case, this would have been Josh Allen for week 3. Game's over already, so you can't use that info, but that's just how you read the chart. Take a look at this, screenshot it, do whatever you got to do. The green is good, red's bad. So all that stuff is in there. If you want any data on this, please just let me know. Again, I am happy to share it. Here's some team totals, but really what I want to get you to is this teasers data. So this is teasing with, teasing against, because that's the other way to play this week is going to be teasers. I really like to go ahead and tease the Packers down from 7-1. Again, because I'm expecting this game to be a lower scoring game. Maybe they do win by 7, but I really want to get it down below the 3 because it's probably going to come down to at least a touchdown, field goal, some sort of one possession game between these two great defenses. And on the flip side, I also want to get Seattle down to 1 as well. And if you take a look at it, Green Bay is 2-0 when you're teasing with them. Their opponents, the Cleveland Browns, are 2-0 when you tease against them. So that's a good fit there. As far as Seattle is concerned, Seattle, if I can remember how my alphabet works, is 2-0 when we're teasing with them. The Saints are 2-0 when we tease against them. So again, another good fit there for teasers. Typically, teams like to either run up the score or they like to kind of take their foot off the gas. And in this case, we're looking for teams that don't have strong offenses or take their foot off the gas. So that's going to be the Saints and the Browns. So the tease for this week is Packers -1 matched with the Seahawks -1. So taking both of those teams, we're teasing them down. That should give you some info, guys. Hopefully this is enough to get you through the week. I appreciate your patience and working through this with me. I will come back. We will have some more videos once we get the microphone situation set up and I can get some more scheduling time in here. But thank you again. Y'all have a great week. Good luck out there. Go make some money. I'll speak with y'all soon.